Beth Ann.
What's up? I'm Ayla.
This is Let's Talk BL, a boys love podcast.
Welcome back to the podcast. Today is a Sunday, and so that means you know the drill. It is Series Sunday. This is the day of the week where we talk about all things one series and one series only. So turn back now or prepare to be spoiled. Or if you're just super into being spoiled because you feel like you won't remember any of this by the time you watch the show, that's cool to hang out with us. But no matter what you do, come back and finish this because I'm super excited about this show. I'm like freaking out about this show.
Interesting. Yeah, we were definitely late to the game on this. Obviously, we're talking Quaranthings. Yeah, I feel like our relationship with Pinoy BLs is wild because I see them sporadically. Again, like, of course, the Thai take all the attention, even from just like the general BLs that we watch. And so I don't really hear about the Pinoy BLs unless they get a lot of attention or unless they get recommended to us, which this got recommended to us. And so, yeah, we just don't like, I don't search
I
them
was just so
myself.
late to it. And that's what okay. So the story of how this got recommended, our friend Chris in the Discord, to be fair, has been on this Quaranthings life for like since the jump.
Yeah.
And he has been talking over and over, like every time he's in that board on the server, he's like Quaranthings, talking about Quaranthings. And I've always been interested in it. And like there have been a few times where I've been like, I think I'm gonna watch that. And I just never did because there was like, I don't know why I never did. And so
because getting Ayla to watch BLs that you want her to watch is like next to impossible.
That's because there's only one person who's never steered me wrong, and it's not you. So
whatever. Anyways. Okay, let's get to
So anyways, finally I sat down and I was like,
you did it.
I was in a rut. I was in between shows and I was like, I just want to watch a thing. And when I finished this BL, my only feedback was that like truly my only disappointment was that I slept on this show for so long.
Yeah.
That's it. That's my only issue.
Amazing. Okay, let's get into the facts before we get into the I really want to rhyme something with that, but I can't think of anything.
Okay.
Anyway, so let's get to the facts before we get to the fun stuff. I don't know. Okay, so this came out in 2020. Again, like we slept on this, so sorry. It's on YouTube via the Ride or Die channel. It's 8 episodes. Season 2 actually just started, this week?
Yep.
So
although by the time you're listening to this, not this week.
Right.
This week for us.
Yes. It just started this time of year.
Recently. Just started.
Okay, so Royce Cabrera plays Rocky.
Royce Cabrera should pray, is first of all I'm going to say.
And Kyo Quijano plays Judah. Okay, so Quaranthings, the series, follows the friendship of two boys and the love that will blossom between them while on community quarantine. During the lockdown, those who could go home went home. 2 of the 4 housemates from Judah and Rocky's place did. To each other's surprise, the 2 who've never even had a real conversation were left behind. Now they're left with nothing. Oh my God, dramatic. The overachieving and competitive Judah can't go to school, while the hardworking and street-smart breadwinner Rocky is left without his various odd jobs. Unable to do the things that give them meaning, can they survive being alone together?
Spoiler, they survive.
Oh, yeah, they do.
Spoiler, yes.
Oh, so good.
It's so good.
It's so interesting to me, the fact that Pinoy BLs really embraced the COVID situation and like made lemonade out of some lemons. And you know what's interesting to me? We talk about loving to learn culture and loving all that kind of stuff. I love learning about how these people dealt with COVID. Like
it's so cool with like the quarantine pass and everything.
Yes.
I was like, oh, like this is interesting. It is really, really interesting.
It's so different than what we went through. So it makes it more interesting because obviously like there's going to be a lot of COVID related content just because of like the time that we're in.
Life.
And so it's interesting to watch something during a time that we also went through, but they had such a different experience that it makes it interesting. Like, I really enjoyed that. I've watched a few BLs now set during this time with this theme, and each one of them I've enjoyed separately for very distinct and different reasons. And I think that's it's nice. Like, I never felt like they were trying to copy each other, kind of what the ties do tend to do with the engineers. That this didn't feel redundant, it didn't feel old, it was a fresh take. It was, two
It felt
very
like its own
interesting
thing.
characters.
Yeah,
Totally.
it felt like its own thing. And so one of the things that surprised me the most about Quaranthings, and maybe I feel like this is just a theme for me and Pinoy BLs. This is just like
Yeah.
apparently my thing with Pinoy BLs. I really went into this thinking I'm gonna like Judah best. Like I went into this like first episode, I was like, Judah, I feel you. Like I really identified with Judah, like as an overachiever,
Right.
as like
Very
that type
dramatic.
A.
Woe is me. Life is hard. She's
First of
quiet
all, life
because
is
it's
hard.
true.
First of all, life is hard. And you know who makes it harder? Royce Cabrera. Royce Cabrera makes my life harder. Okay. Because I went into this
Yes.
really like identifying with Judah. I was like, I feel you. Like, I understand. And
Yeah.
then just like him being with the like Glenn situation and all of his
Yeah.
classmates and like that situation where he's like, why didn't they vote for me? I was like, I have felt that. Like, I
Yeah. Yeah.
just felt everything about Judah on like a visceral level. So I fully like first episode was like, Judah, like this is my boy in this show. Like I am like, and then I mean, in true Ayla with Pinoy BL fashion, Royce Cabrera was a whole experience. A
Amazing.
whole experience.
Oh
Because
boy, somebody's coming for your title.
yeah, I mean, no. I mean, we don't. I mean,
We're not talking about that connection. Continue on. Sorry.
I think now I'm having war flashbacks. Oh my god.
Oh, apologies. Royce
You're
Cabrera.
not sorry, Royce Cabrera. Honestly, by the time that we get to the point where like Judah picks Glenn,
Yeah.
I was like, I was so upset with Judah. Like, I didn't understand where he was coming from. I was like, I just could not with Judah in that moment. And honestly, that's when I realized I was like, no, like my boy in the show is Rocky, which does make sense. It's a big me mood because, I'm always with the like, but he's just going something. He's going through something right now.
So
Which
funny.
Rocky is 100p going through something.
Yeah. Well, and what's interesting, I mean, they're both going through something. They're both like dealing with a lot.
Yeah.
And that's what I think is interesting about this show is that there's like really real depth to these characters for each of them past like a woe is me, my world is ending. Like it's not about them a lot of it. It's about like their family
Their
and
relationships.
their
Yeah.
relationships and like kind of their environment that they and I feel like that's so relatable sometimes where it's like you know what you want and you know how you feel and what you believe, but it sometimes having to convince everyone around you of like who you are is like the struggle that we deal with, especially in our early 20s, right? Like you've figured out what you want to do, you've figured out who you are, or at least that's what you think. And then you've decided to be confident in it, but then you come against the people who have known you your whole life or the people who have expectations for you or the like family obligations that you now have as an adult. And so there's real stuff to each of these characters that makes it so good to watch because then when you have the scene where it's like, they're playing like the truth or dare and they have these like spicy moments where it's like it makes sense. Like there's some spice in the show, but
Oh boy, is there some spice in this show.
it like makes sense within the context of this whole situation, which I really appreciate.
Yeah, I feel like okay, so let's talk about Lolly, who I hate. Like
Oh,
Lolly,
she's
girl.
giving Tita Susan a run for her money.
I mean, Yeah, I think Tita, Susan, and Lolly are like friends. Like they hang
Yeah.
out on the
Although
weekends.
Lolly
They
did
go to the
have
same
developed
church.
character development. Like, she learned the error
She
of her ways.
I don't know that she learned the error of her ways, but also like, let's make it very clear it's never okay to try and send someone to a conversion camp. Like that, like, no. So Lolly, played by Gina Pereno. I hated Lolly throughout. I don't care that she had like, as soon as I heard that like she was trying to send him to a conversion camp and now she's
Ugh.
like trying to buy his love with like money, I was like,
And, like,
no,
kept
no, no.
him from going to the States with his mom, like,
And his like
wild.
siblings, I was like, no.
Yeah.
I was like, cut, dead. Like, you are dead to me, woman.
Yeah, yeah.
No. Because, like, honestly, Judah, the character, is so resilient to be able
Yeah.
to just like handle that and just like the layers of like shit that she laid on him.
Yeah.
Like, Judah to me was, even though I ended up being like Team Rocky,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Judah to me was such a good character that like, even though I feel like he made some like poor decisions,
Right.
I don't like, he's
He was
a
looking
good
for love. Like,
person.
I
He's a
understand.
good person and I feel
Yeah.
like he like must protect basically. But at the
Right.
same time, it is realistic.
Yeah.
Like that's the thing about this show is it's so realistic that like, yeah, we all have family members that like we should and could cut ties with, that like at the same time it's still your family. It's
Right.
so realistic that like in that moment, as somebody who loves Judah and who sympathizes with Judah, and like I think Kyo did such a good job with this
Right.
character. I like, for example, my grandfather watches Newsmax, and if this were literally anyone else, we would not speak anymore because I just cannot.
Yeah.
But that's my papa. Like, I
Right,
like,
right,
what am I gonna do? You know?
right.
And so that's what's so realistic about this is that like, even though she made me so mad, when he goes back to her house and they like go and he like essentially forgives her, it
Mhm.
didn't feel forced or fake or unrealistic because like
Yeah.
that's just life.
Yeah. Totally. And oh my gosh, the scene where Lolly has paid Rocky to watch after Judah, it made me so nervous because I was like,
Me
"Oh
too.
god, I know it's coming. Judah's going to find out. He's going to go crazy." Luckily like that blew over where like Rocky was like, Rocky was like, "I don't want your money. I bought stuff for Judah with it."
Yeah.
Like, I'm over that kind of thing.
And I
So
feel
yeah.
like that scene, when I'm with you, when I first saw that, I was like, ooh, this is a setup for them to get in a fight.
Yeah.
But I think instead, what it actually was a setup to show that, like, Rocky really did care about Judah.
Mm,
Because this
yeah.
whole time we've seen this sort of like, we know Rocky's whole struggle lies around like making enough money to support his family, right? Like, that
Right.
is his focus. And so we see him like push Judah away and we see him like kind of falter a little bit. And so really I think that scene was less of a setup for them to be in a fight and more of a setup for like, what would Rocky really choose? Would he
Mm,
choose Judah or would he choose money? And he
yeah.
chose Judah. And so I feel like that was more of like a character development
Interesting.
scene
Yeah.
than anything else. Although
Mm.
I'm with you, it made me so nervous.
Right, because he definitely talks about money a lot. They talk about how Judah's rich, Rocky is not. Like, the rich thing gets like thrown around a ton of times. It's a
Yeah.
it's a point of contention for them. So that was interesting.
One thing I do want to point out that I'm like really proud of is that like when we were watching this,
Yeah.
I watched it before you, right? So like
Right.
I
You
had
started it
started,
before me. I think I
yeah.
finished it before
You
you.
finished it before I did, but I started it before you.
Yeah.
And but we both got to the same place, like basically at the same
Yeah.
time. And then I had to go do something.
Yeah.
So I had to stop watching, but you just kept watching.
Right, right.
And it was the big like crux, like, okay, how are they going to handle this? It's after they've slept together,
Mm.
that drunk night. And we were talking about it and we were like, ooh, how are they going to handle this? What's it going to be like? And
Oh, yeah.
I was right.
You weren't right.
I was right because I was the one that said that like Rocky would be all in and Judah would push him away.
Right.
And
And
that's what
Rocky
happened.
wasn't. Rocky was like upset and he left. He was about to leave, I think, because like he like does that whole thing where he's like, I was just drunk. It didn't really mean anything. And
He
he
didn't
like,
say that. He didn't
doesn't he
say
leave? He's he
he's
was
like
going
gonna
to
go
leave. His
home to his
friend was gonna
family because
come.
he
Yeah.
doesn't have his
Yeah.
ex-girlfriend was gonna come pick him up. That was the conflict.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Because he like
Yeah.
doesn't have a job and he has to like go get a job to support his family or whatever.
Yeah.
But he like after that, he's all in and it's
Right. It took him a
Judah.
while. Yeah.
And it's Judah who pushes him away. And I was very proud of the fact that like I was right. Rocky ended up being the pursuer, which is what I said was gonna happen.
It took time because because the whole reason that he ends up going to Glenn, which then we get the introduction of Glenn
I
played
hate Glenn. Glenn sucks. Glenn is the
yeah,
worst.
played by Jan Sevilio?
Silverio.
Silverio. It's funny, I had a Filipino friend that was like, "You pronounce every syllable in Tagalog," and I was like, "Okay." And I have yet to retain that information.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of the like surnames
In
are
Spanish.
Spanish based.
Yeah.
Yeah, because obviously of like the
Yes,
history of
yes.
the country. Yeah.
So then we get Glenn, who like they have this history together. Glenn has pursued Judah, I guess, indefinitely. They've like
They've had like an on again, off again thing, it seems
yeah,
like. And Judah was like, nah. Right. So
yeah,
you have this whole setup of when he calls him and he's like, hey, why do you think they chose you over me for this like student council position?
yeah.
And he's like, but then like Glenn is the worst to him. He's like,
No,
I don't even care. You're going to die alone. Like he fully tells him he's going to die alone.
okay. Glenn isn't the worst to him. Glenn is just the worst because I
True.
know this person. This person is so insecure and relies on their money and their looks and everything that they think is going for them. And so if they don't get what they want, they think that like there's something severely wrong with the other person, right? Like he's like, I get what I want. Like I'm wealthy, I'm pretty. Like
Yeah.
why doesn't Judah want me? That makes absolutely
Yeah,
no
and
sense.
then not only does he like literally tell him he's gonna die alone, he starts posting like need a quarantine boyfriend, like looking for a man. Like he moves on like that.
Yeah.
So like clearly he
So what?
didn't care that one. Like clearly the issue with him and Judah is that like Judah is this shiny toy he can't have, and so that's why
Right.
he wants him. Not because he wants or likes Judah, but because he's this thing he can't get. He's this thing he can't attain. And I hate that. And I hate that for Judah because I do really like Judah. And like Judah is sort of just like going through something
Yeah.
with as well with Rocky.
Right.
But like, no, God, Glenn sucks. I hate Glenn.
Yeah. And I really like the fact that like Judah didn't pick Rocky when Rocky was kind of throwing his little jealous temper tantrum.
Right. Judah didn't give in.
No. And I thought, oh, they developed these characters so well. Like,
Like,
it's
I mean,
so
so well.
well. It's wild.
Yeah,
I
like
was
as much
impressed.
as I liked Rocky and I felt like Judah was making the wrong decision and handling things the wrong way,
Yeah.
because at that point, so here's why these characters have so much depth and like, Kyo just did such a good job with Judah, is because I was more upset for Judah that he was making bad decisions for himself. Then I was mad at him because of how he was making Rocky feel.
Yeah.
And part of it is that, like, I think it's really cool how much depth Judah ended up getting.
Right.
Because when he turns around and is like, oh, Glenn, come over, and like, Glenn, be my boyfriend, and like, Glenn, it's on. What he becomes then is the villain. Because at that point, he not only is hurting Rocky, he's playing with Glenn. He doesn't actually want Glenn. He doesn't actually want to be in a relationship with Glenn. He's doing it because he can.
Yeah.
Like he's using him. And even though Glenn is the worst in this scenario, Judah's actually in the wrong. But like, again, like you said, it's like it's so understandable and just realistic that it's hard to be like really mad at him about it.
Yeah.
That
They're
it's
both going through
amazing.
something.
They're both going through
this is
something.
like Ayla's kryptonite.
They're just going through something, okay?
Did you have like a real hard time during this where it's like you went back and forth like Judah or Rocky, Judah or Rocky?
Yes.
You're like, but he's going through something.
Yes.
Through something.
Here's the thing. Okay, I as a person, as a human, I am always going through something.
Oh my god, y'all have no idea.
I am always going through something, and the people that I value in my life that I feel like I am the closest to understand this about me and don't get mad at me about it and like try and help me through it.
Yeah.
And are just like, okay, Ayla, like we understand, like we know you're really going through something, like we know this is real to you and you really are feeling this, and like
perception is reality.
Help me through it. And I feel like that's why anytime I see a character like going through something, I'm like, he's just going through something. It makes me mad when people aren't nice to him because I'm like, he's not doing it on purpose. Like it's mental illness, y'all. Like he's not doing it on purpose. He's not like trying to be annoying. He's not trying to be obtuse. He's not trying to be all of these things. He just is like, he's just going through something. And so it makes me upset when people do not. Now, to be fair, those kinds of things are not a reason. They are not an excuse for bad behavior. They're an explanation for bad behavior, but they're not an excuse. And so like that being said, so I just have like, I have a lot of compassion for characters that are just going through something.
Also, when it's someone that you're close to that like should know you, like that's a different story, right? Like so many of these characters are in the process of getting to know each other. I mean, Leo and Fiat had no excuse. They were just a whole thing. But, you know, these boys that like have been in relationship for like a week or a month, like
I mean, particularly like Rocky and Judah, literally, even though they were roommates, they only knew each other. Like literally the day they went into quarantine was the first day they met, which by the way, I love that scene where like, because again, it's just so realistic because like you as a viewer, when you're watching that scene, you're like abs. And that is literally what Judah says. So it's just so realistic.
There's some incredible lines in this. The one that you texted me that was like, I'm too twink to fight or something. Solid line.
This show is full. Okay, so also one other thing that I want to point out about this show that I really want to talk about, the hugs in this show are next level. Like I know that we get a lot of spice in this show. Like that that like bed scene, right? That's what we call it, bed scene. Is like wild. And actually I think there's a lot to talk about there, even though we don't normally talk about those scenes. It's really interesting filmmaking, so I do want to talk about that scene later. But the hugs in this show are actually like better for me than anything else in the show.
Because they're like so fit together well. Because
like
Judah like can really nuzzle. Like
like you watch these hugs and you're like I want that hug.
They look like they want to touch each other. This is the thing in BLs, is that so often the boys act like the acting's fine, but the physical affection just misses the mark. Which, you know, whatever. But it's the non-spicy physical affection.
Yes, all of the like innocent where it doesn't have anything to do with like
cherry magic. We got no spice, but that was top tier skinship, physical affection.
All of just the like love language, right? Like it's like them communicating through that type of love language 100%. Is like, which can be platonic. It can be all of these other things. It's like the non-romantic. So like the first hug in Quaranthings isn't romantic, actually. It's like Judah is just like having a hard time in life in that moment. He just needed a hug. And so he like got a hug, and it was just like, it's the nicest hug. It's the most, you know how I always say that like Fluke is the most beautiful crier? I think that Kyo is the most beautiful hugger. Because every time he hugs Royce in this show, it's like, it just looks like a nice hug. It's like how when people eat something deliciously, like Jeff in ingredients, like you're like, I will order what he's ordering because it like it seems like it tastes good. Kyo is the best hugger in BL. I'm gonna say
And I
it.
will say that's true because I was watching Kyo has a YouTube channel and he and Royce did a mukbang and it was so sweet and they're so like just they're comfortable with each other. They're
Yeah,
fun friends and
they're fun
like they
friends.
hug and like Royce kisses his shoulder. It's a thing. Like they're just so sweet and genuine with each other and there's like a trust there that's like it's nice to see. Like that's what you want.
Yeah,
Like you know how we talk about just like how BLs are what they are because of the fans, and we as fans really want actors who are genuine about these characters.
yeah,
We're gonna give you we're gonna give you fame, we're gonna give you attention, like you know that there's money here, but like we want you to at least put in the effort to make it look like you care. And
yeah.
these boys care.
Well, and they just
Solid.
like, I mean, honestly, they are next level together
Yeah.
because, like, even that first scene, that first night when they're like trying to beat each other to stay awake to get the quarantine pass,
Yeah.
the massage, the like facial
I
massage
know.
situation. Here's the thing, that early on in a BL, that should feel forced. That should feel weird.
It
That should
wasn't.
feel awkward to
No.
watch. That should feel like this shouldn't be happening. Why is one of them not weirded out by this?
Yeah.
It felt so natural and
Yeah.
like so just like platonic and nice and just
Yeah.
like comforting. It wasn't
Yeah.
weird.
Right.
In any other BL, I don't care, name a BL, any other BL, you couldn't pull that off.
No.
Like,
I definitely
yeah,
I
no.
definitely came out of that scene being like, "I want Rocky to massage my head,"
I know,
but
me
not in, like,
too.
any type of weird
Not in
way,
like a
but,
weird
like,
way
it
though.
looked
It
amazing.
just seemed like you
Like,
could take like a nap. Like,
as
and
someone who, like,
yeah.
loves physical touch, I love, like, my arm being scratched, like, you know, if I'm with my friends, I will, like, lay my arm across somebody and have them scratch my arm or, like, rub my head, and if you know how to do it right, like, it's nice, and so, yeah, that scene was nice.
Yeah.
The
And
other
it's amazing because yeah, it
Yeah,
should have felt awkward that
it
early on
wasn't.
in a BL and it didn't.
The other thing I love, speaking of things that you see over and over again, the tropes in this show, I adored. Of course, like getting sick and needing him to be
Oh
taken care of.
yeah.
Like when when Rocky is walking through that stairwell and he hears the cough.
Dude, wait, did they ever confirm that he had COVID or was he just sick?
He did
Because
not.
he did not.
I'm
Okay.
pretty sure they said he tested and he did not.
Okay. I missed that part, but
Except
like
he was in the rain.
I
He's a
oh
feeble boy and sat in the
yeah.
rain waiting for Rocky.
I
And
mean, he said he was too twinky to fight. Like clearly, even to fight the rain. Like he can't fight the rain either.
but even though, like, I will say, like, Rocky's physical touch is just aggressive, so a little bit, kind of like he's so confident in himself and in his body, like that he like has no holdbacks.
And truly, like from his like origin story, I'm just gonna throw that out there.
Anyways, but yeah, that whole scene, the like, you know, the moment that change, like very much ingredients esque, like the moment that changes everything
The
is
like Gen Y.
Rocky taking care of
Yeah.
Judah. Oh, that scene. And it's beautiful. Like, even though this is like a pretty bare bones set, I will say, like, the shots used in this show and the like just overall aesthetic of everything was really interesting to watch.
Yeah, so my favorite part is actually like the Mugolf and the Brightwin on the wall.
I do love that. I their Second Chance the series also has like uh pictures on the wall, but it's like Call Me by Your Name and Brokeback Mountain and like Western LGBTQ shows, and like yeah, I love
This
that
is
little
another
nod.
reason that it's so relatable that it's like, yeah, if I had a poster of golf, it would be on my wall. I don't have one, but if
Yeah,
I did, it would be on the wall. Like,
100%, 100%. Yeah,
oh my
I
God, I need a Yin War poster.
listen. I tried to
No,
send
I
you
need an
mixed
off gun
styles,
poster.
but
What do I need? I need boys. Okay, anyways. Yeah,
okay.
no, I really like the set.
Yeah,
It's interesting that they like leveled up the set for season 2. It's like we've got new couches.
yeah,
Rad.
love it. Yeah,
Fancier bedrooms.
I'm interested to see season 2. So the first season ends, like, with them in the car and a sweet little kiss,
They're
like,
going to Lolly's house,
they're going
which,
to
okay,
Lolly's.
let's talk about the way this season ends. It ends in a kiss, a
Yeah,
really simple kiss that actually, like, blew my mind because I was like, whoever wrote this show, whoever wrote this, I don't know if they did this on purpose, but
yeah,
if they did, I mean, masterful. One of the things I think that we both noticed
yeah,
during the spicy scene when they're like drunk and they hook up,
right.
they never
They don't
kiss.
kiss.
They
Yeah.
don't kiss throughout that whole
A
scene.
lot of
And
aggressive neck nuzzling.
a lot, yes, it's very aggressive. Um there's another show where some, like, I can't remember which show it was that I was watching, but I was like, he needs to be not so aggressive kissing him because he's gonna pull on his skin and give him a wrinkle, and it was like really stressing me out. I think it was Leo Fiat. I think it was John first, where I was like, Jaw is like kissing him too aggressively. Like, I need, like, he's gonna cause a wrinkle in his skin, and it was just like really stressing me out. It's the
Oh,
same situation here. Like,
anyways.
it was like
Yeah, it was
almost a
aggressive.
little too. I was like, you're like, we're gonna cause
It was
wrinkles.
it was it
Please
was
be
that
careful.
super problematic, random ending couple from Gen Y, like, that level of aggression.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, but so during this whole scene, they never kiss. And when I was first watching this scene, this is before I had like, because after I watched the show, I was like, I need to know more about Royce and Kyo. And I went and like
Yeah.
watched all the stuff and saw all the things. And so I was like, I was like, laugh at me. I'm triggered.
We will not
Don't
mention
say the
what
name.
she
Don't,
has seen.
the movie that shall not be named.
But y'all, Rocky, Royce and
No,
Chaboy did a movie together. Go watch
no,
it.
they didn't. As far as anybody's concerned, they didn't. Don't Google it. Um, so
Oh,
this was before I was like, well, maybe neither of them have done a BL before, and they just like wanted to use camera angles because that actually is a really common like acting trick, right? Is you use camera angles. This is work. This is their job. They're not actually making out. They're
yeah,
not actually in love. Like, it's not a big deal if they want to use camera angles.
yeah,
So that's when I was watching this. I was like, maybe it's just like they were trying to use camera angles and it didn't work. And so all that it looked like is that they never kissed on the mouth, but they were trying. I was like, but I did think it was weird. And I feel like you also mentioned it that, like,
yeah.
yeah, they went to like pretty in depth lengths to like not kiss on the mouth during
Yeah.
the whole hookup scene.
Because
And
it was
so
just a
then,
hookup at that point. Like, they had
and so
no
then at
depth.
the end, when they kiss, it made it so much
Yeah,
better because it was such like a nothing kiss.
yeah.
But that, having that like history
Had
and
meaning
that
and depth.
background and understanding, like, wait, that was their first kiss. Like, we just watched their first
Especially
kiss. Like,
especially Judah's reaction to Rocky kissing him first. It they really did this whole thing where it's like, yo, Rocky is like going with you to Lolly's house. Like, he knows what he's getting into. But it's like Judah needed that like little extra confirmation that, like, oh,
well,
he's
because
like
part of
really
it
into
was
me.
like they had wanted to be together, but he was like, and this is the most heartbreaking scene in the whole show. And like, it is tattooed in my brain when they like basically decide that like they can't actually be together, that like, okay, fine, we both like each other, but like Judah basically is like, I can't, he's like, I've gone through all this shit to be out with my family and to like be out and
Yeah,
live my life out. And if you can't do that, we can't be together. And he
yeah,
was like, it, you know, because I have done all this and this is how I want to live my life. And
yeah.
Rocky is like, I get that. Like, Rocky doesn't immediately change his tune.
Mhm.
Rocky is just like, okay. He's like, I understand where you're coming from. Still not for me, but I understand where you're coming from.
Right.
And they're like, deciding that they can't be together, which is like heartbreaking, but it's
Yeah,
so realistic and it's
yeah.
just like such a good scene. And Judah says, "You're my happiest regret." Oh my god, dude.
That's that
Oh
line.
my
This show was so well
god.
written. It was so well written.
So well written. And so I think when Rocky does come back and he's like, I'm ready. He's like, I changed my mind. Like, he's like, he comes out to his dad and his dad's like, yeah, your mom's gonna be stoked. Um,
No.
And it
Well,
like, and
because
he's like, I'm ready.
Rocky's mom died
Died.
when, like, around the time where she was, like, pushing Rocky to come out. She was like,
Mhm.
"Son, I know that you feel this way. You just need to be confident in yourself." And,
Yeah.
like, she was like, "I don't wanna out you, but, like, bro, accept who
Yeah.
you are." So, yeah,
Yeah.
it's very
So
sweet.
like he comes out to his dad, but all of that is still pretty private. So I think that like when he still had an out, basically he still could
Yeah,
be like, oh, I don't really want this, or I can't really handle this.
right.
And so when he like essentially kisses Judah like in public, right, because like the
Yeah,
driver and all that,
right.
like that's like I think what Judah needs to be like this
Yeah,
confident, because again he never kissed him before. And
yeah,
so it's like that the kiss at this point has become so much more intimate that it's like it that kiss has so much meaning for being
yeah.
such like a nothing little peck, like just like a soft sweet, the
So good.
meaning that they
Yeah,
built into it over like layers and layers of episodes. I mean,
right.
genius.
So good.
Genius.
Yeah. So then it ends with that sweet little kiss, and then season 2, we know, picks up after they've gotten back from Lolly, and we get the introduction of the other housemates and
The
Rocky's
ex-girlfriend.
ex-girlfriend and so many things.
And
So
we
we're
have, okay, again, this is a series Sunday, so prepare to be spoiled.
yeah.
We have, which I have only watched the trailer so far, we have in a very upsetting scene for me a like hookup with Rocky and his ex-girlfriend, and like Chris in the server was like, I hope that that's a nightmare scene, and it hadn't occurred to me that it could be.
Mm.
So now I'm hoping that's real, but also
Which is what I think that
I know the Kyle and Kahoy.
yes. That's what I think that is. But yeah. Anyways,
Do we know, is Glenn in season 2? I hope not.
uh
Glenn is my Kyle. Like you like you hate Terrence so much
yeah. I
that
don't
like that's how I feel about Glenn. I feel like
yeah,
if
yeah,
kind of
yeah.
like how when we interviewed Kyle for the first half, you like really couldn't get over him as Terrence. Like, and that's partially a Game Boys thing, because in Game Boys in the show, we see them on screens like this. So it really
Yeah.
was, and Kyle was our first Game Boys interview. So it really was like almost like being in Game Boys. It was weird.
It was wild.
It was wild. And so I can see how it was hard for you to overcome, like, this is Kyle, not
Yeah.
Terrence.
Right.
That's, I feel like, how I would be if we interviewed the actor that played Glenn, Jan Silverio or Silverio, because like I would only see
Yeah.
Glenn, and I hate him so much that I don't know if I could get over it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
He was the worst.
Like I'm really wondering, like, if we ever interviewed Kauna, like, could I get over it? I don't know. I think I could.
You
It's
could.
Kauna.
Oh my god,
He's so soft. It's
I
been
would
so
be a
long. It's
hot
fine.
mess if I ever talked to Kalina. Like, obsessed with that boy.
Anyways, I wonder if Glenn's coming back. Season 2 looks like it's going to be wild. I'm really excited to watch it.
I'm excited.
I'm really curious where they're going to go with this girlfriend.
Yeah.
I'm like, so, like, is she going to be the worst?
I don't know. There's always that like fine line with the ex-girlfriend where it's like, is she going to be pissed that her ex-boyfriend is gay, or is she going to be like embracing the gays?
Is she going to be a Pearl, or
Yeah.
is she going to be
Yeah.
who's Singto's ex-girlfriend in Friend Zone? What's her name?
Oh. Oh, I don't remember. I don't
I
remember him
forget her
having an
name.
ex-girlfriend.
Yeah, no, okay. This is not a Friend Zone episode. I'm just now watching Friend Zone in case anybody is listening is wondering. No, okay, the girl who lives with Good and
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
the
Boyo or
not
the other
Boyo,
girl?
but the
The
other
other
girl, the one
girl.
who's dating Tor.
Okay.
The one who's dating Tor, she's Singto's ex. They have a whole
That's right. Yeah,
conversation
yeah, 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 yeah.
about
They
how
were dating
like
in college. Yep, yep.
yeah, and
Yeah.
Singto was like, I would never be so comfortable with myself if you hadn't been so cool about me coming out to you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And like she's this like wonderful, loyal, and this is when I was like, oh, the privilege, because she like gets in a fight with her boyfriend and gets to go like snuggle with
Oh,
Singto.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh.
So
Anyways,
great.
the question is always, is she gonna be like a Pearl or this
Yeah.
other girl whose name I can't remember, who are like A+ ex-girlfriends, right? Because like I mean, Pearl is Gav's ex-girlfriend. It's like the
Yeah.
whole conflict
The
in Game
best
Boys.
friends. Yeah.
Or is she going to be like the ex-girlfriend in Together With Me? Just like a monster.
And Tanhan.
And
Yeah.
and Tana, yeah, the girl in Tanhan was the worst.
The worst. She like outed him. Not
Yeah.
great.
So the question is always going to be, is she going to be like a normal human or is she going to be a monster?
Only time will tell. Can't wait to watch season 2.
We'll find
Okay.
out.
Thanks for joining us for Series Sunday. This has been Let's Talk BL. Don't forget to like, subscribe, follow, and keep up with all things Let's Talk BL at Let's Talk BL.